No, I'm good. Actually, you can make me one. You can make me one. All right, so I'm not expecting anybody to jump on. I just want to express some things. And it's called the era after Mayweather, the underappreciated fighter. The American fighters just after Mayweather have accomplished a lot, but have not been in position to receive some of the things that you would receive based off of the accolades that they've achieved. And I believe that's for a multitude of reasons. It's partly on the fighter as well, but I think it's part of the dynamics as well of the fight game in the United States. So that's why I titled this "The Era After Mayweather: The Underappreciated Boxer." So let's talk about it. So once Mayweather retired and his reign was through, the person who took that over the torch in regards to that division was Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman had a good mouthpiece, but did Keith Thurman ever reach any level of success that you would consider crossing over? I don't think so. Um, so it's three fighters in particular that I really want to talk about. It's multiple, and I could go in depth on all those fighters, but I think I want to focus on these three. But the first fighter I'm gonna focus on is the one that I feel like has been shortchanged the most, and that's Clarissa Shields. Clarissa Shields is a two-time gold medalist and a three-time undisputed champion, three divisions. And what I'm seeing currently with Clarissa Shields is for her to be able to have the rematch with Savannah Marshall, she would have to have it in a setting that is not in the United States. And the reason why that is the case is because there is no suitor for her to be able to have that fight. There is no one that is willing to pay. And that goes part of the dynamics of her underappreciation. If you look at PBC, if you look at Top Rank, which are the two largest promotional companies when it comes to boxing in the United States, neither one of those promotional companies have an invested interest in women's boxing. None. I mean, if it's minimal to none. So, knowing that, Clarissa Shields had one pay per view that I know of that was on PBC, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't buy it. But somebody like Ring IQ that I know, he bought the pay per view, and if you was to look at those numbers don't reflect where she should be. Um, and there's a lot of people that say they are big fans of Clarissa Shields. And this is a talking point that I'm gonna have to agree with when it comes to Ring IQ. She has a lot of fans that are fake, that don't support her to the level that needs to be supported. Because if it was enough support within the United States for women's boxing, it would force the issue for these promotional companies to foot the bill for her to have that fight with Savannah Marshall in the United States. Because Boxer is a UK company. So they're not going to come in the United States and give Clarissa Shields what she wants, which Clarissa Shields has earned by beating her as well. But the unfortunate truth of the matter is that there's no one willing to pay in the United States for her to have that fight in the United States. So for her to do that, what she wants to do, she has to go back to the UK again. She should be on the Wheaties box. And these are talking points from somebody else. And I agree with them. That's why I'm reiterating these, because you really see someone who's did more for women's boxing than almost, and when it comes to the American fighter, no one has done more than Clarissa Shields. No one. And she is not where she's supposed to be in regards to being celebrated as a fighter. She's not. She literally cannot get a fight in the United States versus Savannah Marshall. For her to fight Savannah Marshall, after she beat her, she has to go back to the UK. Now, there's plenty of fighters before that has done that. If you look at Usyk, all his wins have been on the road. If you look at I always say Better Beef. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but he's all his titles he's won on the road. So I understand that. But Clarissa Shields has did so much for women's boxing and so much individually that she has truly been shortchanged overall. So that is the first boxer that I wanted to talk about in regards to the underappreciated boxer in the United States. All right, so the second, Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. The Bronze Bomber Wilder simply um, came from a location, from a point where he started fighting at 17 years old to take care of his daughter who has spina bifida. That alone should have been the major story of his career. That should have been the leading story to his career because you got people who would have championed him to a whole nother level. He should have been America's champion. Now, he did reach a certain level of success and a certain level of accolades. And there are some things that happened to him that maybe he could have did differently. Like, in my opinion, that 100 million that was on the table with Matchroom for him to fight Joshua when they were both undefeated, he should have took that. But that didn't happen, and that's part of my issue with the brand PBC, because there is a conflict of interest for Al Heyman in regards to what's best for the fighter or what's best for the network. And that was better for the network, but it wasn't best for the fighter. And I thought as an advisor, you're supposed to be doing what's best for the fighter. Because what was best for Deontay Wilder was not fighting Fury. He was fighting Joshua at that time. And you see where his career has went now. And some of the things he has had happen is self-inflicted. You know, yeah, you know, no doubt about it. But for someone to resurrect American heavyweight boxing, for one to have as many title defenses, and for someone who won a bronze medal without a true boxing background, because a lot of the people who are phenomenal boxers literally started boxing at 8, 9, young. Deontay Wilder started dumb late, and he has tremendous limitations. He has more limitations than probably any other heavyweight fighter who became a champion that we've seen. And those things should have been driving forces for him to become the people's champion. He never became the actual people's champion. People love they base it off of knockout power. Which, granted, that should have been a part of the talking point, but it should have been secondary. Deontay Wilder now is on the back end of his career. He's probably going to end up fighting in Saudi Arabia. I anticipate that he will end up fighting Anthony Joshua, but he has not gotten what I feel like he deserved to get just based on his story alone. It's more about the story for him. For Clarissa Shields, it's about her accolades. For Deontay Wilder, it's about his story. And it's an unfortunate truth where we see another American fighter where he is not fighting all the best fighters that's in his era. And I don't know if that's completely on him. And he's not gotten that level that I think he would have reached if he was marketed properly. That's just my opinion. I don't know if anybody disagrees with me in regards to my opinion in regards to Deontay Wilder, but I think if he had been marketed differently, I think it would have made a bigger difference. All right, so that's two fighters that I've mentioned. So the third fighter, and this one's going to probably cause a lot of controversy in people because that's what people talk about. So many people talk about this instead of talking about so many different fighters in boxing. There's so many other fighters in boxing, but I have to mention this. Terrence Bud Crawford. Terrence Crawford is a three-division champion. He is undisputed. He is a long reigning top three pound for pound fighter for multiple years. When it comes to Terrence Crawford, even before there was negotiations with Errol Spence, one of the things I noticed before I got deep and embedded and created a YouTube channel as a boxing fan and used to watch some of these other channels that I no longer watch, Terrence Crawford's love that he received was based on conditions. Based on conditions. And what hurt him in a way is if he comes after, Floyd Mayweather, part of the things with him would be to be like Floyd Mayweather, to be the bad guy, to talk that shit, right? He's a quiet person. He's stoic. And there's been a many boxer that has had that personality that's accomplished something, but not in the social media area. So this is a little bit tricky, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and go into this. When it comes to the Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford fight, I have never believed that neither fighter was scared of each other. That's one. So I've disagreed with both sides in regards to this. I don't think either fighter was afraid of each other. But when it came to Terrence Crawford, he had so many conditions for this fight to happen. And I've argued this with multiple people. These are the things that are just really true. He had to get a belt first to even see Thurman or Spence. That was known that they both let that be known to him. Then he was on the wrong side of the street. And the wrong side of the street plays a role on his resume that everybody bashes, even though he's beaten two gold medal Olympians and he has had 10 straight consecutive knockout victories within his third division, where usually your power does it reaches a ceiling and you hit a wall. Like Loma, he can't go any further than 135. Great fighters usually go up and test themselves until they reach the point where, whoa, we can't go any higher than this, because now your power's not translating to the same degree. So you have Danny Garcia, who decided not to fight Terrence Crawford and went and fought someone else for less money. Same thing with Thurman. So he's in a division where most of the fighters that people consider the upper echelons would be at Premier Boxing Champions, PBC. He fights every single mandatory that comes up. He does his job, stays out of all bullshit when as he got older, because he had some situations when he was younger. From what I know, he's been a hot headed person, but he has stepped and focused on just his craft and maximize his craft, and he lived the boxer life. And those are the first two things that has hurt him, and people hold that against him. People used to call him Top Rank Toby. I remember when people called him that. That was when I first started getting a little bit, taken aback by some of the channels and was looking for something else for my boxing information. Because I was more of an Errol Spence fan. But I recognized what Terrence Crawford, represented and what type of boxer he was. Because he's a mean dog. He's a dog in the ring. So those two things I believe played a role on holding Terrence Crawford back. And then with Top Rank, I mean, let's be honest here. Top Rank has created a many great fighter who have become stars. But for superstardom, you do, for the most part, have to leave Top Rank. Top Rank has a well oiled machine, but when you reach to a certain level, you have to do your own thing because Top Rank is only going to do so much for you for that next level. That's where the Faldo and Crawford plot applies because he's doing it now, obviously, because you see him in Creed and he's out there and all those things. So now he's raising his profile. But when you get into the negotiation parts where he went across the street, right? The things that really perturbed me in regards to the whole situation where Spence and Terrence Crawford is this: when you're the A side, you're in control. So that means you do what has to be done to make a fight happen. The B side has to make concessions, right? But the A side has to make some as well because to make a great fight, usually neither side is 100% happy. And this is where my issues with Errol Spence come into play because when you have someone, and people make rumors, but there's been no confirmed evidence that he was offered any guarantee. So you got no guaranteed money, right? No, both fighters got no guarantee, but the fact that the fight is supposed to be of this magnitude and you have no guarantee is a telling sign about the situation and circumstances in regards to the company that's bringing the fight to us. So that's the first thing. Then Spence confirmed this. Crawford brought $50 million worth of hedge fund money to the table. And yeah, he mentioned the suspension. He said, "What about the back end?" But the key component is he mentioned it to Al Heyman. And you know, who am I to tell them how they conduct their business, right? But as a fan and wanting to see the fight happen, the thing that common sense wise for me rings is that why didn't Al Heyman take that information, talk about that, and say, we'll entertain this, but if it's going to be 50 million brought on the table, Aerospace is the A side. It's not 25 million, 25 million split. You take 5 million less, he gets 5 million more. 30 million to 20 million. Now you have a 66.6667 to a 33.333. And the rumors were that was the split. It was close to the 65-35. So that's the split that you have. So that right there would have put the money in their pockets and set up the fight. But Al Heyman's interest is for Showtime. And for and those are his interests, and I understand that. That's why I don't put all the blame on PBC. But to make this fight and for your fighter's best interest, that would have been in his fighter's best interest. That was just completely nullified. But what I just said is something that's common sense. If we had did that, that probably would have set up the fight. And then Crawford stated that he said, "Hey, let's sit down. My lawyers, me, and your people, we sit down and hammer out this deal." And Al Heyman, he said, Al Heyman told him this never happened before. That didn't. So he basically shut that down. So what has bothered me is that the vitriol for Terrence Crawford is went to, "Oh, you're a duck. You're a bum. You fight number bums." But if you look at the dynamics of the situation, how can you put the 100% onus of blame on him? You can't. He can get some of the blame, but all of it, you guys are not being objective. And it has turned people against Terrence Crawford when he actually should be celebrated as a fighter. Because the way he operates as a fighter is very old school. Very old school. He is a throwback fighter, and he is truly underappreciated. And I think when it's all said and done and Tom looks back at him, he's going to be looked at much better in a much better light than he is now. Now, it's a good possibility he might be able to get some of the fights that that fans that are against him would consider as respectable fights, because they didn't consider Rocha a respectable fight, but not take into account that he is at a point where he is at his mandatory. He's at his 18 months. With WBO, every 18 months you have to defend. His last defense was with Porter. 18 months is in 60 days. So if Boots goes another route, if Ortiz goes another route, the person that was below them is Rocha. And this is called a prisoner of your own abilities. Unfortunately, Terrence Crawford is getting all this heat because of his ability. Because if he was a lesser fighter, these fights would have been made. If we be honest with ourselves, if he was a lesser fighter, these fights would have been made. We probably have already been seeing Spencer Crawford. If Crawford had more chinks in his armor, had less ability, less skill set. What's up, Boxer Learner? Appreciate you, man. No doubt. What's up? Just talking about the American boxing uh, after Floyd Mayweather, the underappreciated fighters. Because that's what I've noticed is that a lot of fighters are underappreciated in America. American fan base, we say something wrong with boxing. The truth of the matter, what's wrong with boxing is the American side of boxing. I'm looking at the foreign side of boxing and I'm seeing a lot of great things. And there are a couple some good things happening in the American side of boxing, but the issue is American boxing. And this is why I feel like after the Floyd Mayweather era, there have been some great boxers who don't get the same I'm not gonna say accolades, but they don't get the crossover appeal that they probably deserve. So finishing up with Terrence Crawford, I believe that the hate is helping him though, but it shouldn't be that way. And I appreciate those who try to look up this objectively and not subjectively and says, yeah, Bud is not perfect. Spence is not perfect and PBC is not perfect. The business of boxing is a problem to some degree, and all parties are culpable. Simple as that. I just think it's less culpable on Crawford because he's the one that had to make all the concessions, and he literally almost made them all. And he just tried. He had to go above and beyond for the fight to happen, and that's where I see that Spence could have done more. He could, because if you see Tank is pushed. Ryan Garcia pushed, and they got the fight done. They pushed him. There wasn't enough pushing from Errol Spence. From he just said, "Y'all do my business. I trust you. That's it. I want the fight." But then that extra step that was needed to push it wasn't done, and that's just truly how I feel. Now I don't know if there's, if anybody else has any American fighters that they feel that after the Floyd Mayweather era that they've did certain things that deserve the crossover appeal that hasn't got the accolades because everybody screams piracy, piracy, piracy. And listen, it's a real thing. But when you have Roy Jones and Mike Tyson, both over 50 years old, do 1 million pay-per-views, that lets me know that if you do something that excites the fan base and it gets the attention of people, you will sell. People will pay. You have to give people what they want. If you give people what they want, then you'll see them come out of pocket. And unfortunately, there's too many safe fights. There's not enough 60-40, 50-50. There's just not enough unknown going into fights. Like Tank Davis. Tank Davis has been undersuited. And again, this is partly Tank Davis's fault for not pushing it. He's doing it now. And it's not too late for Tank Davis. But he fought some good fighters. And I'm tired of people calling everybody tomato cans. When y'all go in the ring, them same tomato cans will lay you flat on your ass. It's just levels. Anybody that goes in the ring deserves a certain amount of respect. Period. But I believe that matchmaking has been way too safe. It has not been enough fights where we don't know who's going to win, where there is a debate, where we can communicate, and there's a big piece of the fans who is on one side and the big piece is on another. It could be 60-40 one way, but let's be honest. Tank's fights, out of all his 5 pay-per-view fights that he's had, does anybody believe that even 20% of the fighter that was across from him thought they could win? No. That's why this fight here means more for Tank Davis. Even though Ryan Garcia has not accomplished anything in the ring, but his skill set and his popularity grants this fight to be bigger than it is. So I guess part of the onus is on the fighters to create this popularity, but I think it's upon these brands because these are promotional companies. Keyword promotional company. You promote the fighter. What's up, D Town Blaster? Hey, I appreciate you stopping through, man. I mean, anybody that come through and holler at me, I appreciate it. But I just really want to just do this video and have this up here and just get some feedback from others because I feel like the era after Mayweather has been a true disservice done to the fighters. They've been underappreciated. Oh, I'm doing good, Detail. I just got back in from Birmingham. Yes, D Young is Stephen Brimley. Is that Stephen Brimley? Yeah, it was good, doggy. No super chat button, no super chat buttons, man. If you do want to, support, you can cash at me at $ SESAMILL, which is Sesamil. Hey, listen, that Arkansas game was phenomenal. I'm disappointed that they lost, but boy, they fought really hard. And Alabama's a great team, man. We had them down by 9 at halftime, but boy, they came out and punches in the mouth. The Bama fans were really gracious, really great hosts. I was fun. I enjoyed it. But yeah, I just got back in like literally 30 minutes ago. I was taking care of my mom. My mom had surgery, and it went well, and she's doing good. I wish I could have stayed a little bit longer, but life and business waits, and she's doing well. So that's pretty much it there. So I'm back in the cold. I left the heat and I came back to the cold. But again, if you since you said what's the super chat, there's no super chat. But if you want to support and you want to throw something at me, it's the Cash App is Sesamil, SESAMILL, and I appreciate it. You don't have to, but if you do, that's cool. But continuing on in regards to this, and I appreciate all 7 of you people that's in here watching me. I ain't nobody special, but I love boxing, so I just figured I wanted to talk about the American Fighter. Now, anybody who's here with me, I want to know, do you have any? That's cool, man. Listen, I appreciate you, Detail. Again, you don't have to. I'm truly gracious, and I have a lot of gratitude the fact that you even would be wanting to. If it was $1, I appreciate it. But do you guys have any American fighters did you consider has been undervalued and underserved since the Floyd Mayweather era? Because I see boxing is not going down the tubes. I just see American boxing is stagnant, and there's an issue with American boxing. No doubt, man. No doubt, D Town. And listen, D Young, thank you for the shout out for my moms. No doubt, bro. Appreciate that, man. But do you guys can you name any fighter that has been you feel undervalued in regards to the level of notoriety and admiration as a fighter in the American fighters? My big three was Clarissa Shields, Deontay Wilder, and Terrence Crawford. I just want to know if you happen to have anybody else, because I would have to sit down and think about it and go deep. Andre Ward. Okay, cool. Andre Ward. Well, Andre Ward retired not too well. Canelo, no, Canelo got his. Canelo's getting his. Canelo is hated on. I already said Shields D Town. Yeah, Shields Crawford and believe it or not, Deontay Wilder, bro. I mean, because his story. Charlo, that's a good one. That's another one. See, there's a common thing. If we add Jamel Charlo to it, because Jamel Charlo has accomplished, he's a dog. He's willing to fight. Listen, him and Bud don't get along, but let's be real, bro. He's a phenomenal fighter, bro. Phenomenal fighter. But he's lower than everybody I just named. There's a reason why I say Wilder D Town. D Town. Do you understand that Deontay Wilder started fighting at 17 years old to take care of his daughter with spina bifida? That alone should have made him the people's champion. And he won a bronze medal. With all these limitations, he became a heavyweight champion, had a consecutive streak of defenses with all the limitations that he has. But the problem is they marketed and promoted him about his power instead of about his story, his life, and the reasons why he went into fighting. If they actually marketed and promoted that, he would have been much bigger. And I believe if he had been much bigger, it would have been probably that Joshua fight would have probably happened when that 100 million was on the table. That's just my opinion, you know. But I do feel like Wilder, even though some people would disagree with me, I believe he has been underappreciated. Yes, the level of opportunity, and listen, the level of Regis. Ooh, that's a ooh, my goodness, Regis. Man, y'all just laying them down. Listen, can you name one American fighter after Floyd Mayweather who has gotten not just the accolades, because accolades come with you fighting, but the admiration and the appreciation from the boxing fans to the level that is deserved? So we add another one: Regis, Jamel Charlo, Terrence Crawford, Clarissa Shields, and even though many of y'all would disagree with me, Deontay Wilder. And I understand the level of opposition was lower, but at the end of the day, it's about his story. See, when you look at Clarissa Shields, it's about her accolades. When you look at Terrence Crawford, it's about his accolades, but it's about his skill as well. When you look at Jamel Charlo, it's about his accolades and the skills. So you, everybody else we're naming is skills and accolades. Deontay Wilder has some accolades, but it's about his story. The problem is the American promotional base is not doing a good enough job to have them become on a higher level. And some of this is the fighter's fault, but I personally believe that the promotional companies in America are not doing a good enough job. Top Rank does a great job of getting you to a certain level. Nah, D Town, I can't say Luis Ortiz. You can't because it's because Luis Ortiz don't have the same story. See, again, I told you. Oh, he does. Luis Ortiz earns wages for a sick daughter. Granted, but he's isn't he from Dominican Republic? Not, and this is no shade at all. I'm just saying this is about the American fighter. The American fighter. The people who came up from America and would be considered American. Oh, yeah, he's Dominican, right? So yeah, so he's not from the United States. So I'm talking about the fighters that are US based. The US based fighters. Because there is not one that we can name that has gotten the admiration. Yeah, Cuba. So exactly, Cuba. So there's not a fighter that we can name from the United States that has gotten the level of admiration that deserves to be based on their skill set and accolades or their story. And I think it's a sad tale of American boxing because boxing is definitely not falling off. Listen, don't get me wrong. I love my bro E3. I love many people there's many people that I rock with that gives content. But I've expanded. And I've always been a little bit expanded, but I've really expanded. Like I'm deep into women's boxing. I can name off like 25 female boxers. Shout out to Ring IQ because I love what he does because he makes a point to promote women's boxing. That's why I get so upset about looking at Clarissa Shields' situation. We need to, as boxing fans, become get further away from casualism into more in depth of to the sport from the people who are coming up that don't have the name, because that's how boxing stays strong, is by supporting these newer fighters, these people that's coming up, instead of focusing on only on Tank, only on Ryan, only on Terrence Crawford, only on Errol Spence. Most of us only talk about the same 5 to 7 fighters when there is a plethora of good fighters who deserve credit. And that's why when you have somebody like a Terrence Crawford fighting Alex Rocha, people say Alex Rocha's a bum. He's not a bum. And see, the thing is, there's no context anymore. Rashidi Ellis just lost, but the man hadn't fought in, what, 17 months? He beat Alex Rocha. But at that time when he beat Alex Rocha, he was an active fighter. He didn't have the ring rust that he had. Because if you notice, he was fading in the fight. And that's why he lost. He was dominating the fight, but he started fading. But that's the problem. There's not enough context when we're looking at the landscape of boxing to understanding this boxer skill set, this boxer skill set. When we say A class, B class, C class, we disrespect certain fighters just because we don't know who they are, because we are still a little bit in casualism. We're not invested in the sport of boxing. So I challenge all of us as fans of the sport to be even more truly dedicated to the sport of boxing and be a true fan. That means the Euro bums you like to call, or just watch the fights, support the fights, support them, support them. Now you got to put your foot down when you're getting a bunch of bullshit fights, but the fighters that are coming up that hasn't built that yet, support them so they can get there. That's what we all need to do. That's what we should all do. Because if we don't, across the world is going to surpass the United States because the fighters are going to be getting promoted. They're going to be getting championed and loved where the fighters here won't. And those fighters are going to have to. Oh, I didn't get a chance to check because I'm looking at the what's the name. So when I go back, but I don't know how much it is, but shout out to D Town Blaster for the Cash App. I appreciate you tremendously, man. Now I'll probably go on my gas tank when I go to work tomorrow because I took tonight off. I need a break. But yeah, I'm glad you realize I'm talking about American. So y'all done brought up some good and other names when you talk Regis Prograis, when you're talking Jamel Charlo. Those are two phenomenal names, and in some ways they might even be bigger, underappreciated than the names that I didn't name outside of Clarissa Shields, because there's no one higher than Clarissa Shields when it comes to unappreciated American fighters, in my opinion. So we got five fighters that are on this list already that are underappreciated fighters by the American public. And only way that can change is the American public. We have to uplift these boxers and help them get to that. Now it's up coming up on the boxers to put in that work to promote themselves, to go on to platforms that are not. You know what? You're right, but can I tell you something though? I got to pivot back because a lot of people say this. D Town, a lot of people say Clarissa Shields' attitude is a detriment, but her attitude is what got her here. She's went through a lot. She's accomplished a lot. She isn't marketable. Isn't being a two-time Olympian enough to find a way to market that? That's that is something to look up to for young ladies. So when you say that she's not marketable, I believe that her accolades alone can stand enough where you can market that. It's interesting that you say that. So what could she do? Okay, her boxing is what got her here. Stop it. But that's why I just said. You said, okay, her boxing got her here, but her attitude is why she boxed the way that she boxes. Disagree with me on that? The way that she thinks and moves plays a role in why she boxes the way that she boxes and has led to her accomplishing what she's accomplished. I don't know if you disagree with that, but I'm just saying though, bro. But you hit me in the head with some shit, D Town. I gotta be like, yeah, you talking to me a little bit. Yeah. It's but okay, why did Showtime cut her pay 60%? But see, the thing is, what's so phenomenal about that? I have a counter argument. What has PBC done for any fighter? When has PBC promoted someone to superstardom? Can you name anybody? Can you name anybody? You gonna say Errol Spence D Town Blaster going to superstardom? I know you're not. I know you're not. So PBC, I personally feel, has been conflicted as a company. Great intentions, but they've been teetering the line of looking out for the promotional company and for the fighter. And the lines have got convoluted where there's been situations where it would have been better for the fighter. I know he's not, but he could have been though. That's the thing. He could have been. And I'm not saying he still don't have a chance, but I think the time is ticking because I believe he has more mileage on him than Terrence Crawford because He doesn't live the same boxer lifestyle, and he's went through some more, some ordeals later on in life than Terrence Crawford did. But what I'm saying is, PBC with Al Heyman is teetering a difficult line, right? Looking out for the okay, it's too late. Got you. So they're teetering the line for looking out for the promotion, looking out for the network, and looking out for the fighter. And there's been a couple too many moments where looking out for the fighter doesn't look out for the promotional company, but they advise the fighter not to do something that would have been best for the fighter. Thank you. Okay, so D Town, you just said it. So you said, why did Showtime cut her pay 60% and drop her altogether? So if PBC can't manufacture superstars, when's the last time Showtime manufactured a superstar? Boots is Boots is running in a hamster wheel currently. Now, can he get out of the hamster wheel and be able to get these championship fights and build it? Yes, but he's running in a hamster wheel right now. So you're solidifying my point when it comes to American promotional companies and networks are not doing a good enough job of putting the fighter on the next level. Whereas we're seeing Anthony Joshua as a cash cow. We're seeing Fury. I mean, I know we know Fury did it here in America, but all I see a lot more foreign fighters getting their flowers and getting that love and support to a level that is not happening with American fighters. And the support really comes down to this too. You're paying your dollar to see the fighter. Because there's way too many fans of fighters just in America that stream their shit. Top Rank makes stars. They make stars. To become a superstar, the rest is on you. They'll get you to stardom. To get to superstardom, you got to do the rest of the work. And that's where Terrence Crawford is doing what he should have did 5 years ago. Just being honest. What he's doing now, he should have did 5 years ago. And we can't. And even the most staunch Terrence Crawford supporter will probably have to be honest and say, yeah, he should have probably did this some years back. But he's doing it now. He's doing it now. And I don't think it's too late for him. I don't think it's too late. Because I think he got another three or four fights in him if he can, and then maybe that Ortiz fight can come about. I mean, at this point, saying Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford is almost a waste of oxygen because I went from somebody who was so adamant the fight was going to happen to somebody that just don't believe it's going to happen at all. So it's really nothing to talk about on that. But like D-Town Blaster said, he said, okay, so if Top Rank creates superstars, who's a superstar in America then? If Top Rank is creating superstars. Mike, you ain't lying. Shout out to Mike Jemison for saying that they don't even appreciate him doing it now. No, they don't. Because I believe the love for Terrence Crawford always came with conditions. And that's why I feel like he's so underappreciated. And again, you're talking to somebody who was more of an Errol Spence fan than a Terrence Crawford fan. Okay. You said he should have stopped chasing the Errol Spence years ago? The thing is so crazy about this, he had to. Who has the belts? If Thurman already priced himself out, if Danny Garcia already basically ran from the fight, he fought Porter, who had the belts. So what was he supposed to do? And I don't think he necessarily chased him because he wanted to fight. And the thing is, I think he got tired at one point too, because he was talking about all the fights never gonna happen, and that stuff would get used against him to this day about the things he said, right? So you said Top Rank create superstars, though, D-Town. I want you to name me an American superstar right now. Type it in the chat. Tell me American superstar that is current, the top ranked created. Mitch Hennessy. He had to officially show the world of Eric's cowardice. Okay, so this is where I don't think they really hate Bud as much. They're afraid he might whoop their favorite fighter. What I think is a little bit of both. You got some fragments of fan base of that and fragments of the fan base of that. But there was something that hold up, I want to see what I got to see what it was said. Mitch. Okay, you said to show the world Arrow's cowardice. I I have a different opinion than some of my other fans of Bunt that I rock with. I don't believe Spencer's afraid of Crawford. I don't. I don't. But what I do believe is he overly trusts Al. He puts all of his business on PBC to do. Instead, so and you can. It's fine to do that to some degree, especially if you have a team that you can trust. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. But if they are not accomplishing something that is going to benefit your legacy, then you have to step up and tell them you make it happen no matter fucking what. No matter what. Because I personally feel that Tank and Ryan Garcia did that to their companies and forced their hand and made them make the fight. That wasn't done by Earl, and that's why I hold that against them. But listen, I got another little not feeling good person in the house to take care of, and I'd love to go into this longer because I think it's some other things that we can talk about. Is great, but after this video drops, I want y'all to share y'all thoughts and comments about the American fighter after Floyd Mayweather, and who you feel like has been appreciated and who is getting what they deserve as a fighter. I don't see any, unfortunately. But it's the unbiased fan, Grim Reaper. Thanks for everybody for stopping through, rocking with me for this little bit. I gotta go watch my Arkansas Razorbacks versus Tennessee Vols in a little bit. Shout out to my man E3 with the Lakers. Sorry that LeBron got hurt, but y'all know y'all wasn't doing nothing anyway. Y'all wasn't doing nothing anyway. Salt Bay all on your team. But listen, I appreciate y'all. God bless. Good night. One.